Welcome to the Unleashing Your Powerhouse podcast with Charlene Tarver. Unleashing is all about living into the best and greatest version of yourself. Real truth from and for real people. Edgy, entertaining, and sometimes bougie. Join us for real discussions on everything from dating and sex to entrepreneurship and getting the bag. It's sure to be fun and thought-provoking as we welcome subject matter experts, industry leaders, and my best girlfriends to discuss things you want to know on your journey to unleashing. Join me, your host, Charlene Tarver, for the Unleashing podcast. Well, welcome to the Unleashing Your Powerhouse podcast with Charlene Tarver. Tonight, we have a very special guest that I want to introduce you to. But before we do that, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that February is Black History Month. And in addition to it being Black History Month, it is also the month of love. And so tonight, I have invited one of my great girlfriends so that we can have a discussion on professional Black women finding love. Mary, thank you so much for joining me for the launch this month of Unleashing Your Powerhouse, the podcast. I am so happy to see you, friend. So happy to have you with us. And I just want to give you a moment to tell our audience all about yourself. Tell them your name, your career, your relationship status, and we're going to jump right on into this.
First, thank you, Charlene, for having me. I am super excited for you and Unleashing Your Powerhouse. I'm Mary Boulware. I'm the founder of Philanthropic Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that provides resources to homeless and transitional youth aging out of foster care. But not only that, because your sister got to have a job in order to fund the nonprofit.
I know you got to have a job and then the other job. You need multiple jobs.
It takes a couple jobs to keep, to work.
You know how Black women do it. We have to do multiple things.
Yes, and that's what we're doing. We're doing multiple things. So another one of my jobs is working in corporate America. So I'm serving right now as a process engineer for one of the major banks. I won't say the name because of, but one of the major banks. So working in corporate America as a process engineer, ensuring that we streamline processes and recommend improvements, continuous improvement efforts from beginning to end, but more for, our employees right now as opposed to our customers. So that's the corporate piece that funds the nonprofit.
My girl is a boss. My girl is a boss, you all, okay? So don't be fooled by her secretiveness, her discretion. She's a boss, okay?
I love my sister girl, y'all, because at the end of the day, sometimes we don't think that we're bosses, especially as women and women of color. We just do. We're like, oh, we got to get this done. But we all know that it takes multiple streams of income to create wealth. So, I got a little bit of this going on over here, a little bit of that going on over there, and a few things in the making that we don't even talk about right now, because I ain't even told Charlene about some of the things.
You have secrets you're keeping from me, Mary.
But you're
not keeping secrets.
Until things take place, sometimes they say you have to move in silence. You know that is.
That's true.
So I'm moving, but yet, I'm thriving, I'm advancing. But I said all that to say that that's who I am as far as my career. Who I am as far as love. I am love. I'm love, light. As far as a relationship, I was in a relationship for
Mary, you done took over my interview.
No, this is all still part of you said talk about who I am and love and life and relationships. So I ain't even talked about what my relationship
When
was
you
on.
invite your girlfriends, when you invite your girlfriends on, they be down the road.
This is what happens when you invite your girlfriend and then say, girl, this is what we gonna do. We gonna talk, and you know I can talk. But I'm gonna turn it back over to you, y'all. Y'all don't pay no attention to me
No, no,
because
no. Tell us about who you are in love. Who are you in love?
so who I am in love is love. I'm me. I'm no longer I'm single right now, so I'm no longer in a traditional relationship. I am more loving on me and recognizing that as the woman that I am, I don't have to lose myself in a relationship. And sometimes women in relationships feel like, okay, we're giving all we can give to our partners, but are we still feeling fulfilled? Are we still feeling like we're still there? So who I am right now in this relationship and love is just loving on me right now. And this
Lovely.
love month.
All right, there you go. There you go. So Mary, you really said a lot that I think we can kind of unpack. As a professional Black woman, do you think it's difficult for professional Black women to find love? Do you think it's difficult? Is it more difficult than maybe it is for others?
Charlene, I don't think it's difficult. I think that it's a challenge. It's not difficult for the women who are comfortable within themselves
Mhm.
and what they're doing in their career. Sometimes I find that the challenges are with the men. Um, some men have the, let's just say, old school mindset of, woman's place. Women have places. We have, levels, which I support to a certain degree.
Okay.
If you're going to be my man and you want to lead, then lead. However, you need to recognize as my king that I am a queen. And not only am I a queen, a mighty royal woman, I need to be treated as such. That doesn't mean I
Mhm.
can't have my career, I can't rock it out in the boardroom. But when I come home, as long as you're taking care of me, I'm going to take care of you. And
Okay.
so I think that to answer your question about difficulty in a relationship, I don't think it's difficult for us to fall in love. I think that it's just finding the right energy, the right partner, connecting with your partner, the right person, the right energy.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned traditional roles, you mentioned finding the right one, you mentioned kind of what your needs are as a significant contributor to the household, right? Because we have these traditional roles where the man is the provider and the woman is the nurturer, right? And I think that for a number of brothers, if that is your preference, that there's still the mindset, and let's not limit this to brothers. I think there are a number of men who are still looking for women who largely are going to be kind of that traditional wife. And, in fact, I had a gentleman say to me recently, he says, well, if you didn't want to be at home cooking and cleaning, then you didn't want to be a wife. And I thought he was joking. I was so busy laughing because I'm like, there are so many men who are not looking for that. They're looking for a partner to help them make decisions and investments and help support their career, especially in the latter stage of life. I think for women who are 50 plus, who are still out there looking for love. And shout out to my sisters who are 50 plus. There are men that are out there. They are coming. There's an anointment or anointing in finding the right one. I think there's a process. But, again, there are those very traditional roles, and there are men who are not comfortable with women who do not comply with those roles or don't fit into those roles. And so, as you think about kind of your girlfriends, right, your circle of girlfriends, I'm sure you have a mix of girlfriends who are single, married, kind of have given up the fight. When you look at your girlfriends, what percentage of them would you say, your professional girlfriends, would you say are single versus married?
My circle of friends, first of all, is small. However, the ones that I do have, it is a mix. I have several that are stay-at-home wives, some that are CEOs, but still in viable relationships. You said something, Charlene, that kind of, I won't say struck a nerve, but kind of, reminded me that this is the mindset of a lot of gentlemen in this era, where if they're still of the old school mindset that a woman's place is in the home cooking and cleaning. They're not looking for a corporate one. They're not looking for a professional woman. They want a woman that, I won't say, maybe control is not the best word, because I want to sure that I respect all women who choose to do this. But they're looking for a woman that is happy just being at
Mhm.
home and cooking and cleaning and catering to your every need. This is a different time. And in this time, most of my girlfriends have partners or relationships where they're building an empire together. That's the mindset. They don't mind their woman bringing home the bacon, because they're also making their contribution. Whether she's a CEO and he's in whatever non-traditional type of job, they are working together. They respect one another. He doesn't expect, if she's tired today, well, babe, I got dinner. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, or whatever. It's a partnership. And when I say that I'm traditional to a certain degree, that's where I draw the line, where the expectation is that I'm going to go out here and work all day. Then I got to come here and I got to cook and clean. I don't mind
Mhm.
doing it, but I expect the same. It's a partnership. And so
Mhm.
out of my girlfriends, what percentage? 50-50, I think. I have 50%
Okay.
that are married or in relationships. And then the other, you know, 50% of us are single, still looking and embracing the opportunity, embracing love and keeping hope alive, girl. That some, that there's somebody out there for us that's going to meet us where we are, that's going to recognize, appreciate, and value the contribution that we bring to the relationship.
Okay. So you want to keep hope alive. You believe there's somebody out there that's looking.
Yeah.
So I want to know this. Are you open to something different? Right? So many of us have kind of this vision of who our mate is going to be, right? And maybe that's something we've had from our childhood. Maybe it's an image that we've kind of developed over our, over our adult lives. Are you amenable to dating outside the race?
I am now. And I say now because initially I struggled with whether or not anybody else could relate to my plight as a Black woman,
Mhm.
relate to the struggles and the challenges that we have as Black people. But then dating our Black men, and my personal, this is no dig at all. This is by no means saying all Black men, but dating the Black men that I've dated and the experiences that I've had, and then trying out some new dating opportunities with other Black men. It's still, I'm finding that maybe if I expand my scope, and be a bit more.
That'll bring you some greater opportunities, right?
Right, because
Yeah.
right now I think I was, well, not right now because now I'm open, but initially I think that I was limiting myself because I was solely focused on only Black men are going to get it, only Black men are going to understand what it's like dealing with a Black woman, dealing with Black families, just, and I understand and recognize now, even looking at some of my girlfriends who have married outside of their race, and how happy they are in just the partnership and the understanding and support. And I said, well, maybe I need to expand my scope and stop limiting myself to just this group of people and accept love however it may come. I'm it's still I'm still navigating these waters. It's still a little bit sometimes
Yes.
I get in my
Have you
get my head
I don't want to
down.
ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, Mary.
And you can't. It's you, Charlie. It's you.
I don't want to put you on the spot too much. because I know even for myself, we have these conversations about interracial dating and dating outside your socioeconomic status, right? And so, would you date a blue collar man? Would you date someone who's non-black, or not from the African diaspora, right? And even when we start talking about African men and West Indian men and African American men, there clearly are some cultural differences. And I know what I've heard from my a lot of girlfriends is my preference is a brother. That's my preference, right? Because all of us want to be with people who naturally get it. They get who we are, they get our cultural nuances. So it's not to slight men of any other race or ethnicity. It's just simply to say, I grew up in a certain environment. I embrace all of who I am as a Black woman. I am unapologetically a Black woman. And I believe that a brother gets that. I think, with that said, that at times you have, as a professional Black woman, you walk into rooms where oftentimes you're the only one. When you look at your career and you look in the environments where you work, oftentimes you don't see the diversity of Black men in these spaces. And so when you look at your paycheck, you look at your level of education, you look at your paycheck, you look at the neighborhoods in which you live, oftentimes you are not surrounded by a lot of options of Black men who are, who provide a viable dating pool for you. And so, as you think about that, what would you say to some of our younger sisters who are early career in corporate America and they're trying to make decisions about dating, and what their options are? So almost talking to your younger self, what would you say to some of those women about how they should look at exploring these different options, and if they should?
Tell these young women to just be open, um, embrace love, embrace it. Give these individuals the opportunity to show you how much they value you. Allow them to treat you like the queen that you are. And if they don't, then they're not the ones, and you keep it pushing.
All right.
My younger self, I would just be open. Before I was tunnel vision. It's, my Black man likeness. That's how you were reared. Don't you be bringing home nobody else. You better bring home you better bring home a brother. Now that wasn't in my household because my sisters,
The brothers were being told that too.
we done brought home. We got to the point where we were United Nations for a while. I'm just like, oh hey, So
Mhm,
so just
mhm.
be open to love, and don't limit or miss out on an opportunity because they're not like what you would traditionally do.
Okay. So the wish list. Do you have a wish list, Mary?
Child, let's see. Do I have a wish list? Yeah.
You
And
do not have, you don't have a wish list?
I have a wish list.
Oh, you do have a wish list.
I do.
How, okay, okay. I want to explore this wish list. How long have you had a wish list? Like, how many years do you think you have had this list, which is your ideal man? How long have you had the list? Is it new? Is it the last decade or so?
Each year, just like each year, the top of the year, you start talking about and planning your track for the year, your future, your plan. You do your vision boards. Well, I
Mhm.
also kind of do a vision board per se for my relationships. And maybe
Okay.
not on a board. Maybe I write it down and put it in a box and say to God and say, all right, Lord, now I ain't get it right this last time. So let's try this again. And this time I'm gonna be a little bit more specific because I think you gave me some things, or maybe I just stepped in and interfered with what you were working on. You were still working on building my ideal man, and I just like, oh, this
Mhm.
is it. He's the one. This is what God is saying. Well, it wasn't. So I each year I rethink. And I say each year now because it's been a couple of years since I've been out of a relationship. and I revisit what I asked for in the past, and just to look and make sure that it wasn't shallow, because and maybe think about looking beyond maybe the exterior. You still ask for things. You ask for what is not, and so it should be. So I started being a bit more particular about my wish list, being someone that's going to value me, appreciate me, breathe life, build in, want to build a
Mhm.
future with me, value my children as much as I value my children, love God. Now, and I love God so much that it's got to be, if you ain't in church every Sunday,
Okay.
I don't need that kind of deacon, because there are times where I'm like, no, I ain't going today. I'm gonna go to church online, and
Okay.
we gonna from this bed. So that's So I started looking and being streamlining it a little bit more and saying, looking internal, someone that has a good character,
Okay.
someone that is still I can find attraction in. It doesn't have to be. At first, I wanted them to be this tall, weigh this
Okay.
amount.
So you don't have the physical characteristics on your list anymore. Or
I would like to be attracted to my
okay.
partner, but maybe not. He's got to be tall, dark, and handsome, or look like Boris
Okay.
Kojoc anymore. Or
So
does
did you have that on the list at one point?
I did have that on the list,
Okay. Okay.
and
When
I will tell you the things that I chose were not what was on my list. He wasn't tall. He was dark, but he wasn't tall. Oh, I asked. Oh, before on my list, I also asked for him to be wealthy.
Mhm.
He was wealthy, but I didn't know what that came with. You know,
Okay.
with his level of wealth, it came with the expectation that I was going to be controlled. So it doesn't matter that I'm a boss in my own right. You still needed to, I can't outshine you. So then that forced me to look a little bit deeper and really explore my list and say, okay, I need someone that's going to want to build an empire with me, that's not intimidated, that if I invite you to an event, that you don't have to be right up under me. Baby, go do what you got to do, and I'm gonna stand over here. I'm gonna grab this drink and I'm gonna holler at these people over here. I don't need someone that's got to be up under. Oh, you took too long talking to those people, or you
Okay.
put your hand. I saw you put your hand on this man's things. That has happened to me before. I've been
Okay.
at an event
So
and
you don't want to deal with jealousy, with insecurity. You want a
no,
man who, if you, that's the wealth is not a prerequisite,
right,
but ultimately a man who's a provider, a
yeah,
man who respects who you are, and then a man who supports your career trajectory and your professional trajectory.
yeah.
Okay.
You
And you were
summed
getting
that
ready
up
to
so
tell us,
nice.
you said I summed it.
Summed that up so not y'all. I ain't even saying like that, but she got it. I know y'all got it too. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I have for the first time I think in probably a very long time I've gotten serious. I've really gotten serious. I would love to meet my soulmate. And I believe in the power of soulmates. I believe that we're all put here for a particular purpose. We all have our own individual purpose. And I would love to meet the man who God has created for me, who will help me to fully manifest my purpose, and I can help him fully manifest his purpose. And at one point I felt like, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna be vulnerable. At one point I felt it was weak to say that, right? Because it's like, as a strong Black woman, to say I need someone, or you know, I I I don't think a man can complete me. I think a man can complement me. And that's what I desire. I desire a mate who complements me, and we're equally yoked with one another. And he's empowering for me. And when I talk to my girlfriends, I have a small circle of girlfriends. That is part of our similarity. I hear so many stories about women, and women, and they're not positive stories. And then I look at my circle of girlfriends and I'm like, my girlfriends are awesome. But I do question, why are we such awesome single women, right? I do question that. And
And that too
so,
sometimes, Charlene. And I I I the answer that I have, at least for myself, is that it's not us, it's not me, because the right partner for us is going to love everything that comes with being with us. He's going to want a strong woman. He's going to want a woman that not only can bring it in the boardroom, she can bring it at the house. So
Oh, you didn't want to say bedroom.
listen, I ain't know if this was PG. You know I'm a Southern girl. I done said y'all a couple of times, and I'm like, your audience is probably like, where'd you find this girl, this woman? But I'm from the South, y'all. But no, I definitely do. I'm trying to keep it PG for you. But yeah, bring it home in every sense of the word, because all of that's important, right? Um,
Absolutely.
but I love I love what you're speaking, because you have to put it out there. You know what you desire, and God promises us our desires. And for a long time, I was up in the air. I was confused about what it was I really wanted. I thought by throwing these things out there, that was just, oh, I want him to look good. I want him to be wealthy, and I want him to do this, this, and this. And then I've looked back over the course of some of the folks I've dated, and I was like, wow, child, what are you going through? Uh, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like you put blinders on when you think that God has sent you a person, until you realize, no, he can't be sent by God to me, because the things that I desire, first of all, Charlene, the relationship should be easy. Should be easy. We're not going to always agree because we're different people, but I always look at how a person disagrees with me. If you get angry to the point where you want to hit a wall or something like that, what's to stop you from wanting to hit me? So that's already a red flag for me, and an absolute no. Because adults, grown folks, have conversations. I don't agree with what you said, Charlene, and this is why. Now, maybe you need to take a minute to go breathe and calm yourself. But when you do, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about, and we're not going to yell, we're going to talk. Because if you're yelling, then you can't hear the other person, and then it's unproductive. So we need to have a productive conversation about what it is that I did to upset you, or what it is that you did to upset me, without control, without malice. And then we'll agree either to disagree, but yet still respect each other's opinion, or okay, I get your perspective. I got it. You know, we as Black women, or we as women, period, not just Black women, but women, period, that's professional and still single. It's because we haven't found that match yet. Or that, no, that match hadn't found us yet. We haven't met. Those energies have not collided, but they will. I still keep hope alive. I still love love. And until such time, I'll love on you.
There you go. Until he comes along, you just go keep on loving on you. I'm with you on that, sis. You know, Mary, you said some things that really made me kind of go back to 2019 in my life. I don't know if you remember 2019 in my life, but I want to say to our listeners, while you're on this journey, make sure you have a very strong network. And whether it's your professional journey, your personal journey, your journey for love, you need to have a very strong tribe and a strong circle of people who are rooting for you. And as you are getting to know um, uh, potential partners in your dating, I think it's important that you have those girlfriends that you listen to. And so, I was in 2019 on my way walking down the aisle. Mary was there with me, and when I say to you, sometimes we have our heart set on something that's not good for us. It's not what God wants for us. But we are bent on, I don't want to be alone. I'm tired. I need to find somebody. This person will do. I think that I can make it work. I can fit this round object into this square. All I have to do is just try to make it work. And I think that, it's important that you not pressure yourself into situations that are going to ultimately be destructive for you. And that's where that circle of friends can be very important. And so for to my question to you, Mary, is, I know you definitely have that time to reflect on, because I talked to you, I consulted with you, you were there with me. Even though I did not end up getting married, you came, you stood by me, you saw how brokenhearted I was. I'm not the only woman who's been brokenhearted, who had my heart set on a man and it didn't work out. And so, do you want to share, not so much a whole lot of detail, but how have you dealt with relationships that didn't work out? What are some of the steps that you took to kind of rebound from that? And I ask this question because we talk a lot about mental health. And as Black women, we are so committed to, we got to carry the weight of the world on my shoulder. I can do it all. And we can't do it all. And so how do we, when we have these difficulties where we are deeply hurt, and that hurt creates trauma, what are some of the ways that we can work through the trauma and work through those relationships that don't work or didn't work, to kind of restore ourselves and get ready for the next phase?
So first, what I heard you talk about or share is 2019 and your journey down the aisle, which was not God's plan for you. I was in a relationship at that time, but what you did not know, because it wasn't for me to share, was just the challenges that I was experiencing in that relationship. You know who I was dating at the time,
Oh,
and
I knew some of the challenges now, but I
well, yeah, well, one of the challenges for the people in the back, people in the back of the room, one of the challenges that I experienced when I was in the relationship and visiting Charlene is that I had invited the guy that I was dating for quite some time and to the wedding, and he opted out, saying he was going to work or whatever. I later found out that he was not going to work, but all the way in Thailand, um, with his cousin, air quotes, allegedly. Well, his cousin was turning 50, and I do know his cousin. I found out that he was in Thailand because his cousin followed me on Facebook, and we were Facebook friends, and she posted it and shared. So I don't know how much of the pictures that was being shared was actually him with someone or him with his family. He says family. Nonetheless, you weren't transparent with me. So that was already the beginning of the end of the relationship. But I stayed for a while longer because I'm like, okay, you know, to your point, you don't want to be alone. And I think my biggest challenge for me, I won't even say fear, but my biggest challenge was starting over. Did I want to start over and deal with the shenanigans and dating and what is it like out here? So that kept me from moving quicker because he wasn't violent. He just wasn't an honest person. Um, and he was very routine. And for me, I don't want everything to be routine in my life. So fast forward to we dated for 7 years. I finally ended the relationship, but the straw that broke the camel's back was him promising a ring, saying that we've been doing this, for such a long time. I was I was in an apartment, very nice apartment, but I decided that I was going to be more tactical about my spending. And until I decide what I want to do, I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay $3,000 for a two-bedroom apartment when I know I can get a very nice one over here for at least a grand less. So let
Now
me
let's put the apartment in context for you, because you actually took your home and you gifted your home to your son and
and
your
his
daughter-in-law, as a way of helping them to get off their feet.
right
So
to create generational
this
wealth. That was
absolutely.
yeah.
And so the apartment was your way of starting over,
Yeah,
right?
partner
And
with
leaving the home with
precisely. Right. Yeah.
yes.
And
Which is
thank you
which
for
is
that because
that is
it
so honorable, Mary, because as we talk about as professional women, when we're talking about what we do and purpose and how we empower our children and our families, I think it's always important for us to shout each other out. So I
thank
shout you out for that. I shouted you out then, but I shout you out for that. That is so honorable. And I'm so, just humbled by your ability to say, it's important to me that I help my son lay a foundation for his family.
thank you for that. And yeah, a lot of people ask, girl, are you sure? And I'm like, absolutely. One, I didn't do anything for any attention. It was precisely to create generational wealth for my son and my daughter-in-law, and help my daughter along the way on her journey,
Absolutely.
on her own. So I ended up in an apartment, a very nice apartment, mind you. It was luxury. It was top of the line because if I'm going to do it,
You
if
may as well do it
I
right.
might as well do it right. So I was in a very nice apartment, very popular in North Carolina and Charlotte. But when I chose to downsize, it was because, okay, it was time. And doing that, instead of getting another apartment right away, my then boyfriend was like, don't bother to do all of that. We're building a future together. We're going to get this house together. And so, why we're going to build this house. We're going to build it so that it has both of us, a piece of both of us. So I'm on the page. I'm on board. I'm like, okay, we on the page now. We talked about marriage. He's shown me an engagement ring. Now that's gonna probably be a whole different podcast, but showing me
Yeah, that's
something
a different
that,
podcast.
that's a whole different story. But I believed him because I believed that we were moving, we had the same goals and we were moving in the same direction. Um, but it didn't take shape. He took me and showed me, and y'all, this is where it gets good. For those people in the back, lean in. He took me to a whole house on the lake that was being built and said it was ours, but we couldn't go in just yet because they had just put new windows in. It didn't make sense to me. Okay, I like to think that I'm a pretty savvy and smart businesswoman, but okay. They're putting new floors down. You can't walk on the floor. They just put these new windows in. So, you don't they don't want you going through the door because it might not be cured. Really? Okay. But you took me to this beautiful home on the lake, walked me around it, only to later discover, after I broke up with him, y'all. Now I ain't know this at the time, only to later discover that he had never had an offer on that house. He had actually purchased, yes, $1 million home, and the year the Christmas before I moved out. And so the deception I could no longer tolerate. The lies was just unacceptable. One, I know I deserve better. And if you're going, it takes a special mind. I ain't gonna say crazy, y'all, but it takes a special mind for somebody to take you to a house, pretend for months, pretend. I've moved my things from North Carolina to South Carolina when you already had a home that I would have never had to put my things in storage. So girl, my story is it should be in a book, but at the end
Well,
of the
but that's what you're going to do. You're going to write that book. You're going to write that book and you're going to tell that story because I don't think that's isolated. I think there are women who have been, and women and men who have been deceived, who have been flat out lied to, and so, going back to kind of the question, like, how do you heal from that? How do you reestablish trust? How do you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to love somebody else, to be open, right? Because I see women and they're like, oh, I'm gonna check his phone and I'm gonna check the meter on the vehicle, on his car, and I want to see how much gas is in the tank. And I'm just like, that's a lot of work.
it's
Right?
too much work.
Yes, and I presume that that comes from trauma, from having lived in a relationship, whether it was your parents or other family members, those generational family curses, or if it was just kind of a slew of different men that you met and encountered in your life, right? Something happened that creates this level of
Lack of trust.
distrust, right? The suspiciousness. And so how do you heal? What were some of the things that you did to kind of get back to your sense of self and be able to begin to let go? Because that wasn't about you. Right? That was none of that was about you. And so that's the thing, for everybody who's listening, we sometimes have very traumatic experiences and then we allow ourselves to be victimized or vilified in these relationships. And so again, as a part of unleashing your powerhouse, I want you all to really fully understand that the things that people do to you are not about you. Those things are about them. That is about who they are. And so if they're predatory and you happen to show them love, you open yourself to love them, and then they prey on that. That's not about you being a bad person. So I want you to stop and I want you to let that go because that's not about you. But in terms of the healing, how do you heal? What are the things that you have done?
So to answer your question, I have to answer your question by first saying that I chose to leave the relationship. I chose to end the relationship. I didn't wait on him to do it. I didn't seek permission. I chose to free myself. And when I say free myself, the minute I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not even mad at you because that takes too much of my energy. The minute I said I'm done was free. But I did do this. I found out about the home that he never told me about. So I decided that I would just mail a post, no, mail a card.
That was a part of your healing, Mary.
That's how I healed, y'all. I'm gonna tell you now. I've never been one that's insecure. You ain't gonna never. I've never been that woman you gonna find in some bushes. I ain't never been that woman that went through some phones saying where you at. You ain't where you said you at. I have never been that woman because I recognize my value and my worth and who I am. But what I did do is he needed to know that I know. And so I found out what his new address is because it's public knowledge, y'all. That oh, you did buy $1 million crib, and you had this crib way before you ended before I ended it, and you were coming to me lying all this time. So I mailed a card, but I wrote in that card that I wish you the best of luck. I'm not even upset with you. We don't ever need to speak again. God bless. Go forward. Be happy. Good luck to the next one. So that was my card. Now maybe it was a little petty in that I said if because this was a long relationship. If indeed you got something else going on, another woman or whatever, and it's intercepted, then that's on you to explain to her who I am. But you
You
need to
said
know.
you said you said maybe it was petty, Mary.
It was a little bit petty. It's okay, ladies, to get a little petty. Now, don't get ridiculous.
Okay.
Don't be crash.
Well,
Don't be
you're
breaking no
human. You're
windows
human.
and
You
none
can
of
be a
that.
little. You can be a little petty.
A
That's
little
okay.
petty, but still remember who you are, and you operate in all things with class. And so that card mailed to his house was classy because I wasn't being vindictive. I said I'm disappointed that you didn't feel like you could be truthful in where we were, but I wish you the best of luck. So how I healed from that is I recognized that I deserved better. It wasn't about me. That clearly if I had continued, he would have continued to be dishonest and lie. So you have to, ladies, decide when enough is enough for you. But also, to your point, Charlene, make sure that they recognize that you are not the problem because narcissistic people will make you feel like you are the reason that your behavior is why they are doing the things that they do. They did what they did because he tried that. Oh, I didn't tell you because you upset me because of something you said. I'm like, boy, bye. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to allow you to do that to me. So I healed the minute I said I'm done. That was healing because I was able to wake up the next morning and feel free.
Okay.
So
So you
ladies,
woke up the next morning, you felt free. And so what I do want to encourage, for anyone as you're going through kind of healing from relationships, that have not worked, whatever type of relationship it is. There certainly is counseling and therapy, there's yoga, there are all kinds of, natural activities and naturopathic herbs and things that you can begin to incorporate into your life and into kind of your daily activities, because mental health is very real. Right. And I know I am one of those people. I'm very guilty if I want to just keep packing it down, and then it explodes. And so we have to, I mentioned 2019. The other thing that happened in 2019, which actually happened the weekend I was supposed to be getting married, was my father was hospitalized, and my father was given 2 to 5 months. He was diagnosed with a glioblastoma, terminal brain cancer. And ironically, I kept saying, I don't want to be by myself. And I was saying that before I got that information. I was saying, I don't want to be by myself. I'm getting to this point where if something happens to my parents, I don't want to be alone. And I realized that I am so much stronger and I am so much more spiritually connected than I thought I was, right? And so I thank God for moving that out of my path. I thank God for my girlfriends. And I think it's just very important that we love on ourselves and take care of ourselves. And I know, Mary, you do that. You love on yourself, you take care of yourself. And, we just want to encourage the others, all of these sisters, whatever age you are, right? Don't stay in anything that's abusive. And this is about Black love. So we want to be careful. We're going to talk about Black love. But what I want to do is I want to pause for a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and you all come right back, and we got a lot more to discuss. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. So, welcome back to the Unleashing Your Powerhouse podcast with Charlene Tarver, your host. And again, this is both Black History Month and it is Love Month. So, I have a very good girlfriend of mine, Mary Boulware, who has joined us this evening. And Mary is phenomenal. Everybody needs to have a Mary in your life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You need some good girlfriends. You need good girlfriends to kiki with, and sometimes you need them to cry with. And Mary has been there for me for both. So I truly love her. Mary, I appreciate you joining us for our launch month for the podcast. And, I do want to put there was something that I read. It was in an article. It came from the Feminism Project. And the article is entitled, Why Are Black Women Struggling to Find Husbands? A Look at Changing Trends. And there was something in here that struck a chord with me. It says, for many Black women, education and career aspirations have taken precedence over traditional pathways to marriage. This shift has engendered a culture where personal achievements are increasingly valued, potentially complicating the dynamics of finding a partner. And so I know, Mary, we've talked about kind of that the career goals, the nonprofit goals, really being able to kind of take careers to the next level, finding that mate who is your partner, he's your champion, and you all are a power couple essentially. What for you, as we kind of move toward this next phase in our lives, what do you think is most important to you? Do you think it's the career? Do you think it's marriage? Are you still hopeful about marriage and love? And
So what's
what do you
important to
think?
me is family. You got to have a perfect balance between personal and professional. Like my career is important because, as you know, most heads of households at this juncture are women raising their children, some without husbands. And so we are uh, forced sometimes to be the breadwinners. Not that, and when I say force, let me be clear that we're motivated and encouraged to do certain things because how far I've grown and my desire to continue to grow is because of my motivation. But let's be clear, and I need these men to understand that A lot of us as women in our professional careers are there because we have to be there. Um, some choose to be there, and some have chosen to put career before family and all of that, and say, okay, put it first, and say I'll do family next. It just is subjective. It's whatever works for you. For me, I choose family over career, but my career is equally as important. I need my career to make sure that my family, can continue to thrive so that I can continue to thrive and build. So it's for me a gentle merge of the two. Career
Mhm.
is important to me, but it's not I wouldn't make that number one. I would make, if I had that perfect union, then I would make sure that as long as my partner understood that I still want to have a career, and that's where that balance is going to come in. So same
So
perfect.
you think that if you had a mate, then you'd better balance the career. The career wouldn't be the priority.
Right. Well, the career is still important. Let me be
Okay.
clear. The career is still important. And balancing that with a mate means that, remember, I said that I want a partner that we can build together, that's not going to be insecure, that's not going to be threatened by how far I grow. He's going to want to motivate me. So he's not going to make me choose career over family. We're going to have that perfect union. For
Mhm.
me, family is important. So my career is
Okay.
important. Family takes precedence over my career. If I have a meeting, but yet my daughter needs me or my son needs me, then I got it. We're going to reschedule this meeting. So I'm going to make sure that I put family first. I'm still going to have that career. And so with my partner, he's still going to respect and value and want me to have that career. He's going to love me enough that, babe, if you want to work, you work. If you don't, I got you.
Mhm.
That's why, that perfect union, that blend works. As far as marriage, I still have hope. In the past, I've been married in the past,
Mhm.
been divorced 20 plus years. Okay. So initially when I got divorced, I said I never wanted to marry again. As time progressed, I said, marriage wasn't the problem. I think it was the person I was married to. We just weren't a good fit. We're better friends outside of the marriage.
Okay. So
So
you still have hope. You got hope for marriage. You are hopeful for love. You have not given up on it. You are hopeful for black love, right?
I'm hopeful for love, and I'm hopeful for black love, and I'm hopeful for any love. I'm open for love however it
Right,
comes.
there you go, Mary. Okay, I receive that. I receive that. You say I am hopeful for love. Now, I do want to ask you this: alpha females, right? Do you consider yourself to be an alpha female? Have you been has it been insinuated that you're an alpha female?
In the relationship, meaning that, and when you say alpha female, are you speaking in terms of, it's I'm making the decision solely and you fall in line? I mean, define
Well,
alpha in that term.
so so the way you pose that question is interesting to me because you instantly made a distinction. I don't know whether you knew you did this between how you show up in a relationship and how you show up at work. Are you an alpha female at work?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what? So you know I'm laughing because we have to show up as alpha females in the work environment, right? And
Absolutely.
some kind of way is I think sometimes our mates think you need to turn that off, right? But it's not that easy to turn that off, right? We see the things that we go through. I mean, all of us are watching. We watched George Floyd. We watched, we're of the generation where we watched Rodney King. We watched, what happened with with Brooks, with Marcy Prison. I mean, we understand what Black men are dealing with. We understand the level of stress and pressure and responsibility that men have. And I think we can all agree as women that part of our innate gift, God-given gift, is that we are nurturers, right? Which is why we're able to carry babies and bring life into the world because we are nurturers. But I do think that, when you step into the professional arena, there's a level of expectation, there's a level of politics, there's a grit, there's a hustle that you have to employ in order to be successful. So you don't become a vice president and a senior vice president and a six-figure earner and part of the executive committee and the C-suite and all these other things without having the tenacity to function and survive, because it's super political. And so how do you turn that off? And can you turn it off, or how do you dim it to be able to be in a relationship? Or do you think that, I know we talked about this, well, this is who I am. Because I think sometimes as women, I know I'm rambling here, but I think sometimes as women, we believe, well, I show up the way I show up, right? And I need him to just be my match. And I think brothers are saying, I still want you because I'm not married to your job. I'm not dating your job. I don't care how much money you make. What I care about is how you make me feel, right? And so, how do you temper the alpha female?
At work is one completely different environment. As a Black female, you already know that we have to have 10 times more than your counterparts that are non-Black. So you always have to walk in to an environment with confidence, and I am a leader. I am this alpha female. I am
So
this one.
that's the leadership, it's confidence, it's charisma, it's vision, right? These are all the things that make up an alpha female. It's not that she's bitchy or, she's negative, she's controlling. That's not what being an alpha female is. It's you are a leader
You're
and you are.
confident in your ability to lead and to perform. You're comfortable with who you are as a leader. Remember, a lot of Black women are leaders because not only do we make babies and we create life, but we run these households. Whether we are housewives and mothers, we still manage our households. We still lead. If the male is out working and he comes home, you still managing your household. You're taking care of the kids and you're making sure meals are done and baths are done. You're still managing and leading. So you're still an alpha to a certain degree. How do you temper that coming from corporate to home to your personal life? For me, I think it's easy because as long as you respect your mate, and remember that what men have to realize is we don't always want to be in control. Charlene, I don't always want to have to make decisions. If I have to make
That
all,
that was my next question is would you date an alpha man, right? Would you date an alpha man, or are you wanting the man who is able to take charge, take control, make decisions, kind of take the reins from you so you don't have to be that person?
I have to be careful when I say this. Yes, I want an alpha male, but I want an alpha male that respects his woman, not an alpha male that's controlling and think because I am bringing home more money than you or whatever, what I say goes. I want us to go here. I don't care what you got. I want to have this. I don't care if you want that. We have to have that perfect balance. So, yes, I want a man that can lead. Most women, I think, want men that can lead. Where I'm not necessarily comfortable with me having to come in and say and make all the decisions. If I've been busy making all these freaking decisions in corporate all day, I want to come home and say, "Babe, what are we having for dinner?" Or, what?
And then
I'm
you come back with the kitchen again. You
right,
you
because
cook
some
that
men,
dinner
old
together.
school men, think that you got to still. I don't care that you worked all day. Come cook me
Mhm.
some dinner. Or pick up. I can pick up something. He can pick up something. It's got to be that union and that you temper your alpha femaleness. It won't go away because you are who you are. You shouldn't want it to go away. It's part of your genetic makeup. It's not coming home and
I think for
saying,
some, I think for Black women, though, we've almost had to adapt and adopt an alpha mindset to survive. If we look at our ancestors in this country and the cotton picking and the lynchings and the
that's why I say it's part of our genetic
sodomy and
makeup because we from the days of slavery.
Yeah.
They've had to leave. The men that they've had to get out and work in those cotton fields or in that kitchen, and all of those things we had to do, and still come home and love on our man after he's been mistreated and disrespected, and and we still have to be strong enough to say, you're still the man, you're still the head of this household, because they're feeling broken right now,
Yeah.
which is why so many men came with this mindset that if you're not doing what I say that you need to do, then you know there's really no play, or the violence comes in, or whatever, because
Mhm.
you need to do what I say do. That whole alpha mindset, although they're not respecting what contribution you make to the household. So I temper my alpha female in a relationship, when I had one and when I'll have another one, by respecting my mate. You still
Mhm.
come home with a level of respect. And if he and share, babe, it's been a rough day or whatever, and you want him to listen and say it's going to be a Charlene, most of the time men can't fix your problems because they're yours. But oftentimes, all they need to understand is I don't really need you to fix those problems as much as I need you to tell me it's gonna be okay. I
Yeah.
got you. It's gonna be okay. That's
Yeah.
that for me.
Now,
That's
is that
solid.
your love language? Is your love language
My
words of affirmation or?
my love language is acts of service and
Oh.
gifts. So show, because words are just that. I've
Mhm.
been in
See,
relationships.
that's my love language. Affirmation.
So I can tell you, girl, you a freaking rock star, and because you are. But
No, you can't just, I mean, I need the acts of service too. So it's the acts of service and the words of affirmation, that kind of go together. So,
and actually, a male friend of mine asked me that recently. Well, he started sharing that his love language, without saying love language. He's like, I want a woman that's going to, just, speak positivity into me, and,
mhm.
just words of affirmation and touch. I said,
Now, a lot of men, that according to the statistics, a lot of men, their love language is touch, physical touch. So,
"Mhm,
ladies, if the man wants to hold your hand, he wants to touch your leg, he wants to rub your back, he likes to kiss on your cheeks, that is how he's expressing his love and affection. It doesn't always, physical touch does not always mean the act of sex, right? It's his way of being close and sharing intimacy with you, right?
and
And
I'm good with all of that."
you want them gifts too.
However, my love language is don't just talk about it, be about it. Show me, but don't just tell me you're gonna do a thing. Show me, and and a little gift won't hurt.
Look, you know what? I better throw that little gift on there too.
Yeah, throw it on that. But
Nothing wrong with a little gift.
gifts could mean, babe, I did the dishes today. I
Mhm.
know that you worked all day or whatever, and those dishes that were in the sink, I've already done that, and I made a meal for you. That's a gift, because that's not me having to come home now. I'm tired, and now let me go in this back to the kitchen, going in this kitchen and cooking or whatever. Now
And
he
so
needs
your
to,
issue is not, it's not that you don't want to cook, it's that
right,
you don't want him to expect that. You
exactly,
want him to understand that you have days where you're not able because you're just physically exhausted. You want him to be concerned about your well-being, and then
right,
you all can distribute or divide the household chores and labor just based upon, your work schedules and lifestyles and need, right? That's all
right,
you're saying. You're not
right. Because
saying you
I'm a
don't want
pretty
to
good
cook, but
cook.
that's
I'm
because
actually
that's what they
enjoy.
hear. They hear you don't want to cook and you don't want to clean and you don't and that's not what we're saying. We're not saying we don't want to do, because I think when you have a man or a mate that you love, you want to do those things. You want them to be happy. You want to take care of them. You want to love on them. You want to dote over them. You don't have a problem making a meal, making a cup of tea, a coffee, a breakfast. It's just that you also want that reciprocation,
Right.
right? And so that's what we got to work on for February 2025. For 2025, we have to work on, really just creating these atmospheres where the men and women in our lives that we love know that we love them and they feel it. And that's what we're going to claim. We're going to claim that Black love for the month of February and beyond is about us truly embracing and loving ourselves, loving our mates, loving our sisters, and just being very intentional in that. Mary, before we close, I want you to tell me what's next. What's next for you in the love front? What is
What's
what is Mary what does Mary want to manifest?
I'm manifesting that man, that mate that God has for me. Be it a black man, Asian man, Hawaiian man, whomever. I'm now open. I'm open to love. I am not in pursuit because I found in my past that I haven't gotten it right when I choose. So now I'm allowing myself to step back and let God move in the direction. I've asked him for things and he's promised me the desires. So what's next is I'm going to, just continue to love on me and embrace love as it comes. Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
open, y'all. I'm open.
There you go. There you go. So Mary says she is open. So if you all need to get in contact with Mary, you can just let me know.
I'll let her. I'll let her fuel.
Well, this isn't a dating. This
This
is
is
not a
not.
dating podcast. However, we're not opposed because we know you find love where you find love. But on that note, Mary, thank you so much for joining us again to launch Unleashing Your Powerhouse this month for a very stimulating conversation and a very real conversation. And so I want to encourage you all. I did not tell you at any point. Please click like, subscribe, share, come back weekly for content. This podcast is really about, again, helping you unleash into the boldest, greatest, biggest, best version of yourself. And so I appreciate, again, Mary, and we look forward to having some real conversations with real people about real life. So we look forward to seeing you for the next podcast. Join the conversations because they are definitely going to be real.